Jasmine. My guest today is an old friend of mine who we both went to Coventry University together, and I've known him to be a very reserved and quiet person. But fast forward a few years till now, he looks totally different from what I remember him to be, and he started a whole new lifestyle, which is a fitness lifestyle. He looks different, he looks really amazing. Welcome, Ife.
Thank you.
To Finding Happiness with Jasmine. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Marge. How are you?
Not too bad. So, if you tell us a little bit about yourself, who are you? Who's Ife?
Well, Ife was born in Nigeria and moved to England at the age of 12. And I've got 3 sisters, just to sort of put it out there. And it's quite interesting growing up in a family where you have a lot of females around you. And that was quite tough, but at the same time pretty fun. Growing up, I was pretty much interested in a lot of activities and sports. And that kind of like lingered all the way into sort of like my adulthood. What I experienced during my childhood was a lot of bullying from my sisters, in a good way, because I didn't have any brothers.
Right.
So all I had to do was do a lot of the stuff that they did, which were pretty girly.
Tell us something that you did that was girly to you.
So there were moments where they painted my nails, put makeup on me, but it was all fun and games because I was a lot younger then, and it was just very much me bonding with them. Obviously, I wouldn't do that now because that'd be really weird, but back then that was pretty much how we kind of like bonded and had fun.
Share with us your university experience and you being at uni, starting a whole new chapter in your life. How was that experience for you?
So like the university experience was quite interesting because before I went to university, I remember having a chat with one of my uncles, and he kind of like told me how great my parents were and how great my sisters were. But then when he came to me, he was like, I'm not so sure. And that was just because I was very playful and I like to do sports and everything, but they were a bit more academic. And from that very moment when he kind of like said that, I kind of thought to myself, okay, you know what, let me see if I can prove this guy wrong. So ended up sort of working pretty hard at college, and then ended up with distinctions and scholarship, and then went into Coventry University. And whilst I was there, it was more of like getting my head down and pretty much working everything to success.
Yeah.
And obviously that experience was quite good because I got to meet a lot of good friends, some which are very much long term. Still keep in contact with them, yourself as well. And whilst I was at university, I used to took on the whole sports stuff. So I was into athletics back then as well. So I did a bit of athletics too, and also going to the gym. So it was all about studying, training, Christian fellowship, repeat.
Because I remember, during university, a lot of the times you were literally stuck in your books. Most of the time we always met at the computer room, do you remember?
Yeah.
And all the time when I see you, you're always like busy doing assignments, and if you're not, if I'm not seeing you at the computer room, you're holding a ball, and I'm guessing it's basketball. You used to play basketball at university.
Correct. And football.
And football. I never saw you play football though.
Yeah, those were like on a Monday evening.
Okay.
Leagues, yeah.
Hence why we didn't really see you during some of the evenings.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Going back to what you said previously, being born in Nigeria, and then you were raised there till you were 12. Can you share a little bit of your experience in Nigeria?
Okay.
Growing up in Nigeria, how was that?
So growing up in Nigeria was pretty good actually because I lived in the capital city, which was very central. I went to a boarding school in Nasarawa State, which is like in the northern side of Nigeria. So kind of like had that sort of tough upbringing where they kind of like allowed me to explore independency at a very young age. So fending for myself, so that I can handle myself.
At that young age.
At that young age. So this was like I think when I was literally about 11 or about 7. Literally going to boarding school and taking care of myself with other students, and that sort of experience kind of like really toughened me up on how to be independent. And sort of Nigeria is pretty fun, great weather. But at the same time, I had a lot of my families there, and it was quite tough because at some point my mom had to come down here, leaving pretty much my dad and us behind, which was quite tough. But he he allowed the opportunity for mom to like, find something for us in the UK. So, a huge part of sort of our growing up was with our dad. Whilst mom was in the UK, sort of like preparing and, getting us the opportunity to come here as well.
Well, I feel like we touched a sensitive topic when you spoke about your mum.
Yeah.
You said she left you at a young age to come here to start things for, the rest of the family. How was that like, having to live without your mum and not seeing her every day like how you used to? How was that?
That was pretty tough. I mean, I was pretty young as well, so I was just sort of like growing. But the thing is, she did come back once in a while. So, when it was like holiday period, she would definitely come back, but we spoke on the phone every day. She sent us presents every, Christmas time, or literally she was still keeping in touch the whole time, non-stop. So, I mean, she did a fantastic job as well, her being all the way down there. She never, for a moment, forget that we're here. Like, literally, she kept, calling us, speaking to every single one of us, sending stuff down, and she visited as well. And she came for a long time and she visited. And then before she goes back to the UK. When she was in the UK, she had a lot of my aunties and uncles that came and lived with us. So in Nigeria, in Africa, you tend to have big houses where you can have your family and stuff. So, her cousins and my cousins, they came in there. So they kind of played that part, of sort of like taking care of us in a motherly capacity. But whilst they were doing that, they still got direction from her all the way from the UK. So, she told them stuff and, they basically action. So I had like my big aunties and uncles that were there sort of like with us as well. So like there wasn't like any emotional sort of disconnect there. Like, it was all embedded in. Like, like I didn't feel any disconnect at all.
That's great, great. I think a lot of the times it's not that case for others, but it's great to hear that, you had such a close family unit that supported the family during the time of your mum being away to, start something to support you guys. Now, going back to uni, after finishing uni, you landed your dream job.
Correct.
Tell us about it. How did it all happen?
So I studied aviation. So initially I went to be a pilot. That was sort of like my dream kind of career. But it's quite an expensive hobby to get into. So I went into the business side of aviation. And sort of when I finished, everyone gets this whole, idea of like, what do I want to do? And you apply for a lot of graduate schemes and other stuff. And, sometimes you just get that instant, you're not successful. And I remember one day, I applied for a couple of stuff and one of my tutors sent an email saying, oh, there's a company called Star Alliance. They've got internships coming up and if you're interested, apply. And I just kind of told myself, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So I applied for it and, all of a sudden, I got a call to have an interview and this was a company in Germany. So obviously I was thinking to myself, there's no way I can go to Germany because I can't afford to buy a flight right now, only if they were going to fly me over. But they decided to have like a Skype interview with me and we kind of like talked and within a week they were like, yep, you got the job. So like my first ever sort of job was to literally travel abroad and work for a company, one of the biggest airline alliances in Frankfurt, Germany. And that was quite daunting because I've never done this. I mean, going to university is a different field to actually going out of the country to a different environment where basically you don't speak the language, so you're having to learn German. And that's a big barrier. And sort of just being there, no friends at all, but you have to merge yourself into the community and actually get to know people and sort of live a comfortable life. So it's pretty tough.
So what life lesson have you learned coming from uni and then landing your dream job? What life lesson have you got from having those experiences?
I think the life lesson I kind of got from that is being able to step out of your comfort zone. So I know you've probably heard this before, step out of your comfort zone, but it's different when you actually have to do it, physically. And for me, that was a big life lesson that, just step out of there and don't worry about, what's going to happen. Literally get out there and just try to adjust yourself to what you see around you. So it's just more of be flexible to accept change. In a whole different kind of way. And sometimes it could be small change, it could be massive change, but it could be really, really huge. But just literally accept it. And if you do, things will work a lot easier.
So just being open to change and embracing it, embracing the changes that comes with it, and learning alongside as time goes on.
And pray about stuff too.
And pray about stuff. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
How has your faith had an impact in your day-to-day life and, all that you've achieved? How has your faith played part in this?
Good question. So, obviously growing up, my mom's always, she was always like grounded us in the Word of God. So, prayer is pretty much, our number one thing to fight any battle. And that sort of has sort of like stirred, me personally. And obviously, like through the journeys of life that I've been through, prayer and God has pretty much been the two things that I've held on to the whole time. And even moving to Germany as well, like definitely prayed about it. Back when I was in Germany, my faith was still growing, and it needed a bit more work. And I'm very grateful to God that He kind of like sustained me throughout that whole time. Mm-hmm. And even to present time now, like that's grown at a whole different level. And I'm more sort of leaning on Him the whole time. So like faith itself has literally taken me through from where I first started to pretty much where I am right now. And the opportunities that I've sort of had in life right now, it's all down to God and pretty much Him, making things happen for me.
Oh, that's great to hear. Now let's go to fitness.
Okay.
Right. As I said, my memories of you has been, totally different. I used to remember you being, looking different. And then fast forward a few years to now, you look, hench, they say. And your fitness lifestyle is totally different now. So how did it all start and why?
Yeah, okay. So when it started, back in school, you know how you have like in the school, you've got the gym and the boys are always trying to find out who's the strongest. And like a lot of that was pretty much what was happening, like who's the strongest person, and I'll go and try and compete with other ones. Like, yep, I'm a lot stronger. And we just did that a lot when I was in school, and then went into college. And during my free time, I would go to the gym in college because I was like, what is the best way for me to spend my time? I mean, you could sit in the canteen and talk to other people and look at girls and stuff, but there was nothing exciting about that. So I spent most of my sort of free time at college. When I had no lessons, I would go into the gym and go and be training. And literally, I began to observe a lot of changes going through my body. I mean, I was going through puberty at that point as well. So when you add all these sort of activities in there, your body would really accept it and it would grow in a tremendous way. So that kind of happened, and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. So when I sort of finished college, when I went to university, it was the first thing I was thinking. I was like, right, where is the gym? Where is the church? But I was like, where is the gym? Seriously, because that is where I find a lot of comfort in as well at the time. So I literally spent a huge amount of time in Coventry, broke a couple of records, did deadlifting, squats, all those things.
Oh wow, so you got yourself in competitions?
Well, personal competitions. Literally got myself into that. And I can remember that the first year when I went to university, I left looking very skinny. And the moment I returned back out of the first year, my mom was like, what happened to you? Literally, I came out looking literally just completely grew out of my skin.
Yeah, because you look a bit smaller now. I think because of work, so you kind of slow down a little bit. Yes. But I remember you were huge. Yes. Literally the pictures that you posted out there, which we will be showing. You looked so big, and I was like, you need to slow down a bit. And a lot of the time, it was you showing your legs and the workout, and I was like, oh, you need to. What is he going bodybuilding?
Yeah. I mean, bodybuilding. My workout tended to consist of a bit of that, but I was never really keen on sort of going on stage to compete because it just requires a lot of dedication. But then again, I've been asked, would it be something I would consider doing? And I always thought to myself, maybe one day in the future when I've got time to do that.
Right.
But for the meantime, it's not a big focus for me. I just quite enjoy training, just more like a mental thing, challenging myself personally, setting my own personal goals. So really, kind of for me, it's more of personal, something to showcase out there.
So why fitness? Why fitness?
For one, it gets me out of trouble. Not that I'm a troublesome person, but it's just, I'd rather be doing that than sort of sit down being idle, doing nothing. Also, I just like the way you feel. So when you work out, you get a lot of feel-good chemicals that's been released in your body, and you just feel great about yourself. This is something I own. My body, it's something I own, and for me to train on it and work on it and shape it the way I want it to work, or the way I want it to look, is a big fulfillment. Because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, okay, did that. It looks good. And that's why fitness is pretty much different. But also it kind of like translates into like, my work life as well, because it's motivation and consistency, and that's pretty much what you need in life as well, like to be consistent in the things that you do. I've been doing this for like almost, I'll probably say like 15 years.
So with the fitness, was there anything that you had to change in your lifestyle to gain this or to achieve what you've got now?
So I had to definitely change my diet. So that's something that has to come with it. So you can be eating all sorts and expect to look a certain way.
So what sort of food did you eat, or did you start with? Because I know you didn't just straight away get into, changing your eating pattern and all this. So what did you start first with?
So I kind of started with the basic, and I kept it really simple. Fish, chicken, rice, a couple of naan breads here and there. But like a lot of my diet was based on chicken.
Based on chicken.
I used to have like a whole chicken a day.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty much 5 days, whole chicken every day. Literally eating that across, and obviously chewing as well. So having like 3 meals, 4 meals a day, just literally eating a lot of high protein meals, fruits and vegetables. Once in a while, I do sort of have the burgers and all that stuff, because you need to enjoy a little bit.
Yeah.
So just as much as you train hard, you still want to enjoy life a little bit, and I don't want to deprive myself from the lovely foods out there. So my sort of advice is that definitely change your sort of like eating pattern, but at the same time, like, don't be so strict that you don't enjoy other things. Like right now, I could have 5 packs of donuts. That might seem a lot, but I know for a fact that tonight when I go to the gym, I'm gonna put in that work to like balance it out well, and that's how I enjoy it. So
what are your gym routines? So when you go to the gym, what are some of your routines that you start with? And talk about the routine.
The routine. So normally I'll have like Mondays being like chest day. So come in with a nice warm up, dips, and then get into like the heavy lifting. So I tend to, most of the time I tend to train by myself. It's not because I want to, it just things happen that way. So when I do have friends, that's great. We train together, but most of the time I train by myself. And that requires doing a lot of like heavy dumbbell lifting. So if it's too heavy, I can drop it down. But I'm training quite heavy and just sort of like keeping my rep range to about 10 reps or 5 reps, but keeping it very safe as well, so I don't break anything.
I was about to say, have you ever injured yourself during the course of you training?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
So I had a couple of shoulder injuries, and sometimes and it wasn't something that I noticed straight away. It was like after I finished training, feeling good, the next day I'm thinking, that doesn't feel right. And then suddenly I'm like, okay, this pain hasn't gone, like it's there. And then from that moment your body sort of like tells you, yep, you've done something. And it's just a matter of you like taking rest and
recovering.
Sort of like recovering. So then eventually you're like, oh wait a minute, that pain is not there anymore. Right, back to square one again. Let's carry on. So
right. So finding happiness is part of finding happiness is also sharing the challenges that you've faced in life and how you've overcome those challenges. Can you tell us a challenge that you've encountered and how you've overcome those challenges?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges I'll probably say kind of like goes through my childhood. My sisters, literally, I can say like they're very intelligent people. They're very smart, and this is like I mean this in a very good way. Like they were very bright and stuff. And not that I'm not bright, but I was a late bloomer. Put it that way. And my dad was like, you're just like they did really good and they're getting this grades at school. And there's me, kind of like wanting to play sports and be more active, which is like typical kind of like boyish behavior. And that was quite challenging because when I sort of look at them, I'm thinking, wow, like they are shining really bright and stuff. And here I am thinking, man, what's gonna happen to me? Am I gonna go through apprenticeships, which is great now, like literally. But like I was quite curious to know what my future gonna looks like. Since I can't sort of match up to the standard that they had sort of like put, because like they were coming first and getting really
doing well.
Yeah, I'm just like and I'm training my little small lane, Sometimes I'm just like scraping just about getting up there. And that was a big challenge for me because I just didn't know if I would literally be able to sort of get to their sort of level. And you know, I know for a fact that my mom was so supportive. Like she literally in the background, she'd be like, pray. Like, you know, when she goes for night vigil and I'm sleeping, she'll come into my room, she'll put her hand on my head. And like, she would literally like pray the word of God over my head all my life. Like, you know, saying that, you know, you would be, you know, you would achieve and, you know, you would grow. And literally in every sort of area, life, stature, wisdom, everything, you know, she made that prayer. And, you know, even to this day, like for her, that's one of the miraculous things about my life is that, you know, she kind of went, what happened? Like, you know, what made you change? Like, literally, what was that spark? Because at some point, literally, I basically picked up, like, you know, literally began to like do really well. And like, you know, I'm the only one in my family that's had a scholarship, an academic scholarship. None of my sisters didn't have none of that. So for me, like, that was a very challenging time because, you know, I felt like I wasn't able to match up to their standard. And in terms of how I overcome it, it was just more of like, you know, I think my mom prayed a lot for me. And you know, I kind of also wanted that drive. And I remember when I told you about my uncle sort of saying, yeah, one of my uncles saying that, you know, your sisters are great, your family is great, you know, for you, I'm not quite sure because, you know, you love this. And, you know, when he kind of said that, that was kind of added a bit of fuel to like my drive to actually want to, you know, prove, right? So my mom's prayers, you know, the motivation I got from an external person to say, yep, you know, I was like, you know, I'll put all this together. And that's how I kind of overcome that change of like not feeling like I was on the same level as my sister. Right now, I'm absolutely on the same level as them. Like, you know, there isn't sort of like any differences. Like, I believe like we're on the same level. And honestly, they don't even know this. They don't, literally, this is the first time we ever hear this statement. But yeah.
Because you're always like, you know, you keep things to yourself. You never, you know, share a lot. So this is quite. I mean,
they encourage me as well throughout the whole process. Yeah. So like, you know, for them, they'll be one of the sisters that you tell me, you know, they were teaching me stuff, helping, but you know, these were things that, you know, I also back within myself, like thinking, okay, how do I keep up with these guys? Like, you know, how do I have that perfect streak? And you know, right now, when my dad looks at my report, he just sits there and smiles, like, you know, because he's like, yes, like, you know, I mean, even to where I am right now, he's like, he's fantastic, it's amazing, in a miracle, because he was really worried.
Tell us, give us some words of wisdom. What advice can you give someone out there who is now trying to figure out what to do with life, also wants to embark on a fitness sort of lifestyle, but at the same time balance that with, you know, finding, you know, their career and other things? What advice can you give them?
Okay, so for me, I'm a big, you know, believer of, you know, first of all, you trust God. That's like the first step you take, you know, you pray about it and, you know, wait on God, and then suddenly you begin to like make the right sort of connection to other people. Basically find out, you know, what other people are doing or in that area that you want to go into, know what it is, and then sort of begin to apply yourself. So yeah, you mentioned that job application and, you know, you're thinking, do I sort of meet that bill? I think my advice would be that, you know, look at it, if put some good judgment to it, like, you know, does it make sense? Can I actually get this? You kind of like go for it. So genuinely, I think it will be about applying yourself as much as you can. When it comes to like the fitness side of things as well, like, you know, you're not in any competition with anybody. That's what I'm gonna say. You're not in a competition with anybody. Whatever you do it for yourself. If you get there late, fine. You know, if you get there before everyone, kudos to you. That's something I had to like even do with myself because, you know, I look at some of my mates and I'm thinking they're like managers and this and this and this, and I'm like, what about myself? But at some point I'm like, you know what? Like if they drop, God forbid, but if they were to drop dead the next day,
they have nothing.
Like I'm not gonna be, oh, I've won, because it's nothing there. Like so, I'm not in a competition. You're not in a competition with nobody. You're not, you know, trying to get to the top spot between somebody. Like literally, you are on your own race, and you pretty much do things, you know, the way God pretty much plans it for you. So my advice is that, you know, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just keep doing what you're doing. Get to your destination at your own time, and sort of like, you know,